I know some of you don't know me, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Eva Lewandowski. I'm a certified life coach, certified EFT practitioner. I'm also a speaker, and I co-host a weekly internet radio show, Corporate Talk with Charlie and Eva. And I'm also the co-founder of the VisionOp Group, LLC. And to learn more about us, Charlie and Eva, you can go to charlieandeva.com. You can also email me directly at eva@charlieandeva.com. I also wanted to let you know that I'm also a 30-year veteran of corporate America as an IT consultant. So I have a lot of background in terms of dealing with a lot of Fortune 100 organizations. And that was one of the reasons that I came up with this topic today of navigating life as a highly sensitive person, because I am a highly sensitive person. So that's why we're going to be talking about that today. And Webinar Wednesdays are going to be the last Wednesday of every month, 2 p.m. Eastern. All the replays will always be available on our website under events. So that's at charlieandeva.com under the events calendar. You can click on the last Wednesday. You can either get the link there to sign up, or you can also then see the replays. They will also all be available on our YouTube channel at the VisionOp Group, LLC. And the topics will vary each month. Each topic will have a discussion. We're going to have action items and a Q&A. My goal is to keep these webinars as short as possible. We're looking at 30 to 45 minutes. I know any longer than that, and it can just become too overwhelming, especially for those of us that are highly sensitive. So I want to just be able to plant a seed with you, to let you know about different options that you have, some strategies you can start using right away, and some different areas of coaching that you might need. Now, questions can always be submitted to me beforehand or during the webinar, like I said, in the chat or in the Q&A. And if anything comes up afterwards, please feel free to go ahead and email me as well at eva@charlieandeva.com. I do have some upcoming webinars scheduled in August, and it's going to be the last Wednesday of August on the 31st. I'm going to be discussing how to craft an engaging presentation or elevator pitch. I know people that have stage fright, or even that don't have stage fright, that have a hard time pulling all of those components together. I will give you an easy way to do that so that you can easily craft a presentation. Also on the 28th, this is going to be a really fun topic in September. It's overcoming resistance, and I'm going to be co-facilitating with fellow EFT practitioner and colleague Renee LeBrenson. I know a lot of you know her as well, and we're going to be talking about how to overcome resistance. Anytime we try to do anything great or different, we always hit a wall of resistance, and so we're going to show you some strategies as to how to overcome that. So why bother? Why bother taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this webinar in particular? As I said earlier, I'm a veteran of corporate America for over 30 years, but I'm also someone that's highly sensitive. And I didn't even know that until I read the book, The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine Aron, just a little over a year ago. And all of a sudden, a lot of things made sense. I really struggled with stage fright, with having my opinions heard. And one of the things that I found is it's because I'm highly sensitive. And I feel that it's time for those of us that have been hanging in the back to start moving into the spotlight, to start sharing our gifts. If we have the right strategies, doing that is easy. And I'm going to be discussing some of those strategies today. But first, we want to take a look at, are you actually highly sensitive? And here are some of the characteristics. Now, you might not have all of these characteristics. You may just have some of them. You can actually look up more characteristics on Elaine Aron's website, which is the hsperson.com. She has a quiz there. It's a fast quiz. It's free. And you can see whether or not you kind of rank towards the highly sensitive side. We aren't a very large part of the population, but we're a mighty one as far as I see it. So here's some of the characteristics, right? We feel overwhelmed when we have too much to do. This is a big one for me. If I have too much to do, it's not so much the doing of it. Once I start doing things, I'm actually okay. It's the thought of everything I had to do becomes overwhelming. And then if I have people telling me what I need to do, that becomes overwhelming, and I start to shut down a little bit. Violent movies, violent TV shows, even crazy violent movie trailers can really leave us feeling really unnerved. I love action movies, but if there's a lot of violence in it, I need to avert my eyes. I kind of just shut my eyes. I don't listen. I don't watch. I don't want to know what's going on. And then I can go back into the rest of the action. For a lot of us, loud concerts or crowds or just loud noise can really feel like too much. Now, I like being in crowds. I like concerts. But if people are talking at me while I'm trying to watch a concert, that can start to feel overwhelming. This is a good one that I hadn't even thought about until I read her book, which was even being too hungry can feel really uncomfortable. And I always knew that if I got too hungry, I could feel just a little wound and a little angry, but I hadn't ever seen it in a book anywhere until I read Elaine's book. And this is one that I came up with. When all eyes are on you, we tend to freeze up and go into fight or flight. That's like classic stage fright. But it's also because what I've always said is I can feel the vibe in the room. I can feel everyone looking at me. I can feel all the eyes on me. I can see if they're texting on their phones. So it can be very unnerving to have everyone looking at us. And another thing that we do is we tend to pick up other people's moods, especially if we're not grounded and we don't realize that we have this ability. I actually spoke to an EFT teacher. She was an instructor. She was talking about how she walked by a friend of hers and the friend was in a very bad mood and gave her a hug. And the next thing you know, she felt awful and the friend ended up feeling great. And they happened to speak later in the day and the friend noticed it too, that right when they hugged, it's like they transferred feelings. So that's something to be aware of, that not all the feelings that you're feeling are necessarily always your own. So that's something to think about. So what HSP, what highly sensitive isn't? And this is something that I want to just shout from the rooftops, right? What HSP is not, it's not weakness. We're not weak people. We can handle things. We just tend to get overstimulated much faster than the rest of the population. It's not that other people don't get overwhelmed. We just get overwhelmed quicker, but it's not a weakness. We're also not necessarily introverted. I mean, it's got nothing to do with introversion or extroversion. I'm a big extrovert. I love being around people, but yet I am highly sensitive as well. So it's got nothing to do with being labeled as introverted or shy. Or the next point, which is a lot of times we can be labeled as socially awkward. And that's simply not true. We're not socially awkward. It's just that sometimes we get overwhelmed and then we want to retreat. We also don't have to be handled carefully. We're not necessarily high maintenance. We actually tend to be a little bit lower maintenance because we're always slipping under the radar a little bit because we don't want to create waves. So we don't have to be handled carefully. We know how to handle ourselves. We just need strategies in place to give us the downtime that we need. We're also not neurotic. And this is a big point that Elaine makes in her book about that a lot of people that have this tendency to be highly sensitive have been labeled as neurotic. And it's simply not true. We're not neurotic at all. What we are is we're extremely intuitive. We're extremely intuitive. We're able to pick up subtle signals that other people miss. And we're also terrific listeners and we're terrific observers. We feel the vibe in the room. We know what's going on with people. We have so much empathy because we know how people feel. We can feel it. We have an understanding that goes way beyond our own experiences. And because of that, we can be really innovative and really creative. We generate a lot of creative ideas. We actually are great collaborators, and terrific facilitators. We're good at all of that because we want everybody on the team involved. We want everybody to have their voice. We're empathetic to what other people have to bring. We want to have people bring their gifts to the table. So we're the coaches, we're the healers, and we're the intuitives of the world. And we're found in every profession. We're everywhere. But what do we need? You know, what do highly sensitive people need? We need support. We need understanding, and we need downtime. These are the three big things, and I'm going to be talking later on in just a couple slides about what the strategies are that we can have in place to give us that. Because without strategies, we can very easily become depressed because we get overwhelmed so easily. And we can feel hopeless and misunderstood. And in her book, she even talks about how sometimes what they found is that it's not necessarily depression, it's just that we're highly sensitive. We also can sometimes feel like we don't fit in. And the biggest thing is, after a while, after feeling overwhelmed all the time, after feeling like we don't fit in, after feeling like we're completely misunderstood, it can really manifest into anger, which is not a good thing. So let's talk about some strategies, right? What do we need? We need downtime. And we need downtime to think, to daydream, to process, to just take a minute. I'm always saying that to Charlie, I need a minute. I need a minute to process this. So what you have to do is you have to try to keep time in your schedule. Now I understand, I mean, I worked in corporate for many years. Our schedule isn't always our own, but there were always times that I could slip in where I could take some time for myself. Not necessarily to go out to lunch, but maybe 5-10 minutes. If you have an office, close your office door. You just give yourself that minute. If you are someone that works for yourself, you can schedule your schedule. I tend to put all my coaching clients on one day and my writing on another day so that I don't have to do too much multitasking. Although I am a good multitasker, it's easier for me to just have one type of activity on each day. So one day I'm writing, maybe updating the website. The other day I'm coaching. It makes it much easier for me instead of trying to move from one task to another. The next one is really big. Turn off all unnecessary media. I mean, 24-hour news cycles are great, but they're draining. All you need to do is listen once a day. I one time on purpose, I don't remember what the event was, but it was a huge event in the country. 24-hour news cycle was just going 24 hours just talking about this. I purposefully watched it almost the entire day, and I learned nothing more by the evening than I had in the first 15 minutes in the morning. You don't need it. We actually have turned off our cable TV, much better off without it. So just once a day is all you need. If you can keep it to not even doing it once a day, that's even better. You know, go a couple of days, you're still not really going to miss anything. And if you have a long commute, why not listen to something soothing? Don't listen to talk radio. Don't listen to the news. Put on, you know, I used to listen to Wayne Dyer or Sonia Choquette. They're great. You know, I would use that time to just think or to set my intentions. I had a long commute. I would just not have anything on. I would just think to myself, but I would make sure that I was thinking about positive things. Now, the next one is really big, food. You know, not only are we highly sensitive emotionally, we're really highly sensitive to what we eat. So it's really important that we watch what we eat. What you can do is you can eat something and just see how you feel afterwards. Do I feel good or do I feel bad? It's really fairly simple. It doesn't have to get complicated. But really, for me now, the cleaner the better. Too much sugar, too much alcohol, caffeine, it makes me jittery. I'm not on my game when I have too much of it. I can really feel it. Even if I have one drink the night before, I can feel it the next day. So if you have something big, a big meeting, you're meeting with clients, you know, you're going to have a stressful day the following day. Watch what you eat the night before. In my stage fright class, I talk a lot about the 24-hour rule, where I clean up my diet before a big presentation 24 hours beforehand so that I'm really on my game, that I get good sleep, that I feel good, because even one cocktail can affect me. That's how sensitive I am. And food sensitivities too can make you jittery. We gave up gluten about 3.5 years ago. I'm not even looking back, and I can tell now when I've eaten something that by accident had some gluten in it, I can feel it. So just by watching what you eat, and I've actually had people in my workshops tell me that just by watching what they eat, it made a huge difference in how they felt and in their nerves. which then moves us into exercise. And I mean, we all know we need to exercise, and we all know we need to move. But the thing with us being highly sensitive is sometimes we feel disempowered. And what exercise can give us is empowerment. We can feel really good. It makes me feel strong. It makes me feel powerful. I feel like I can actually, move through the world. I want to take center stage when I'm feeling powerful. So that's the big bonus from exercising. Working out hard really makes you feel strong. The other thing it does is it helps you sleep. The harder I work out, the better I sleep. And that moves into the next point, which is if you're highly sensitive, you've got to make sure that you get adequate rest. I mean, rest is just huge. If I don't get enough sleep, I can feel it the next day. Everything makes me weepy. You see the Hallmark commercial, you're weepy. I can't handle anything. Of course, I worked in corporate. No one knew this was going on. I knew it was going on, though, because it was making me miserable, right? So this is about empowering ourselves, using these strategies to empower ourselves. And another way to get adequate rest is to take an Epsom salt bath before you go to bed. And this is something I learned from one of my teachers, Sonia Choquette. And Sonia is an intuitive. She now teaches around the world. But one of the things she talked about was you can pick up people's bad vibes during the day. And we talked about that earlier a little bit. I talked about the teacher I had that when she hugged someone, all of a sudden picked up this nasty vibe from her. Well, an Epsom salt bath can actually help you get rid of that vibe. I know it sounds crazy, but it works because I've tried it. And you can get Epsom salts like Dr. Teal's over at Walgreens is super cheap. It's like a huge bag is $5. And for $5 to get rid of a vibe, that is a good thing. One of the other things that I used for a long time was earplugs. When I lived in Manhattan for a couple of years, it was loud and it was noisy. And I didn't even realize until my mom came to visit and she said, how can you even get any good sleep? And I thought, you know what? I'm not really getting any good sleep. I started using earplugs and made all the difference. So earplugs or a sound machine too can really help because you really need to guard your rest. I can't stress that enough. The other thing is, and I love this term, is you have to find the people in your life that have believing eyes. And this is another thing I got from Sonia. She always talks about finding people that believe in you, finding people that know what you've got, finding people that know your worth, someone that will push you without belittling you. And this is so important when we deal with our children, because maybe you're seeing now as I'm talking about all of this, that, well, you know what, it's not so much me that's highly sensitive, but it's my granddaughter, or it's my son, or it's my daughter, or whoever, right? You might have people in your life that are highly sensitive. So one of the things is to be encouraging. I found that when I was in corporate, where I shined the best was when I had a supportive team. And one of the things that Sonia discusses, and that we discuss in our shared leadership workshops, is it's about us first being the believing eyes, us first being the good teammate. So when we're the good teammate, people then, that tends to resonate with people, and then they tend to return that in kind. So find those with believing eyes, those that will push you a little bit, but not overstress you. The other thing is make your tasks manageable. I worked with project managers for so many years, and I managed projects myself. The biggest thing was whenever you did a project, you wanted to bring the tasks down to as small a level as possible so that they were manageable. When I take my tasks and break them down into small chunks, it doesn't feel so overwhelming because I just take a few of those and do those in the day. I've also taken my task list and created it on a one sheet for my week. And each day as I have something, I highlight it and then I tick it off. It's all on one page. I don't have it all over the place. I use that and my calendar and I'm done. Otherwise, I had these sheets. It was craziness. One sheet is all you need. Get it all down. There's something called a Kanban. It's written here, Kanban. A Kanban is a great way. You just use sticky notes and you just have a to-do, in process and done, and you just move the sticky notes across the board. One of my webinar Wednesdays, I'm going to focus on how to manage tasks and how to make a project plan for what you want to accomplish, because there are much easier ways than what you see out there. It's not complicated. Another thing is you have to watch the negative self-talk. Sometimes we are our own worst enemy. So especially with us being as highly sensitive as we are, we need to be exceptionally nice to ourselves. Not just kind of nice. We need to be exceptionally nice, because negative self-talk drains us. And all you have to do is work on changing one thought at a time. I would do that to myself all the time, especially when you're in corporate. You know, you'd be in the middle of something heated, and I would start, you know, talking bad to myself, and I would change it right away. I would just stop it. And one way that you can do this, a very simple way, is if you have a little bit of time, even if you're at work, if you have a negative thought, write it down and see how you can change that thought. How can you make that a positive? You know, and use past experience to support it. So, for example, you might say, well, I'm never going to be able to finish all of this. You can turn it around and say, I can break these tasks down and tackle them one at a time. And then your past example is, I'm almost always done on time. I'm almost always done on time. I never miss a deadline. I never do. So why would all of a sudden today be different? That's how you start combating negative self-talk. And the other two I have is set your intentions for the day. One of the things that, you know, we tend to do is we can be in the car, like if you're driving to work, you say, today's really going to suck, right? Well, that you just set your intention for the day. Why not start proactively setting how you want the day to go? I used to do this for meetings that I knew would be contentious. So if I knew I was going to have a really tough client call, right beforehand, I would set the intention that this call is going to go really well and everything is going to be resolved for the best of all involved. Simple, easy, powerful, because you're going in with a different vibration. So many times as highly sensitive people, we know we can pick up others' vibrations, but we forget that when we step into our own power, we can shift the vibe in the room. If we feel a bad vibe, if we're eating right, if we're grounded, we got enough rest, we're feeling good, we're feeling empowered, we can shift that vibe. Because we know what's going on. We've got the empathy. We understand it. We can shift it. So always remember that you have the power, but always be kind to yourself, because there are going to be days when you don't feel powerful, and that's okay too. That's okay too. And the biggest thing is keep it light. We have to keep our sense of humor. We have to travel lightly through this world. You know, stuff is funny. Even in the middle of huge crap, there's always something funny going on. So make sure that you try to keep it light. And my final tip is, I know a lot of you out there are emotional freedom techniques people, that you really like EFT. But for those of you that don't know what EFT is, it's known as tapping. I'm just going to do this really fast. I'm just going to go through it very quickly. It was developed in the 80s by Gary Craig, and it was derived from thought field therapy. It's basically a form of emotional acupressure. So what you do is you use the same meridians on the body that you use in acupuncture. It's just that you're tapping on the different sites in your body. And on my YouTube channel, I actually have an introduction to emotional freedom techniques, and you can go through that. That focuses more on stage fright, but really stage fright really has the same components as what we feel when we're overwhelmed as a highly sensitive person. So you can take a look at that and learn how to tap if you don't know how. But it's just a very quick way to calm down the amygdala. And what I want you to remember, for those of you that do tap, all we're looking at right here is we're looking at the feelings. When you get overwhelmed, what is the feeling that that's evoking, right? So when you're tapping, nothing has to be complicated. You can tap on, I can't take this, I can't take this, I can't take this. I'm so overwhelmed, there's so much to do. I'm never going to get all this done. You know when you're tapping on the right words, when you feel the shift. You can feel a shift in your body when you start letting it go. And don't stop tapping too quickly. Tap and tap and tap until you feel a shift. And if you're not feeling a shift, you may want to change the words around a little bit. You may want to change the words around, or just tap without any words. There's a lot of times that if I'm feeling very anxious, I don't really have the words to describe it, I will just tap and not say anything because I'm already feeling that in my body. Because a lot of the times the words are just there to get those feelings going in your body so that you can release them. So tapping really is very simple, and it's really, really effective for being a highly sensitive person. And there's actually a book on it, and I'll talk about that in a second. But one of the things that I want you to remember when you're tapping is that if for some reason you should uncover some trauma and you become elevated, so you had anxiety, now all of a sudden you've got anxiety that's off the chart, just remember to keep tapping. Just keep tapping and that anxiety will come down. And then after that, you can look at working with a professional or a practitioner to help you start processing that trauma. The thing with tapping is it's great. You just have to do a few minutes in the morning, or in the evening is perfect. I used to tap in the car. Sometimes, if you've got a lot of people around you, you just might want to tap on the collarbone part. You don't have to do the whole thing. Just tap a little bit. Or a perfect place is go in the bathroom. If work's getting crazy, or even at home if something's getting crazy, just run to the bathroom and go tap. I've done that myself. I tap in the shower all the time. It's a great place to do that. So finally, I just have some resources for you. So again, the book is The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine Aron, and you can find that on her website, which is below, which is hsperson.com. The book has the quiz in it. The website has the quiz in it. And then there's also, for those of you that like EFT or want to try EFT, there's EFT for the Highly Sensitive Temperament by Rue Haas. This is a great book. This too is available on Amazon. I have this though in the paperback. It's a nice little small size. It's perfect to mark up and start using. And it's got all different kinds of scripts in there for all the different things that we experience as highly sensitive people. Also, when it comes to negative self-talk, I don't think anyone does it better than Byron Katie. And you can check out Byron Katie's site at thework.org. There's worksheets there. They talk about how to take your negative thought and turn it around. It's just 4 simple questions. It's very, very powerful. But as with everything, you have to use it. You have to use the tools available to you. And then there's also tapping Q&A for those of you that like EFT, and that's Gene Montrestelli. He has compiled an amazing group of tapping podcasts that you can just access for free for the most part. So you can just learn to tap there as well. And then again, my videos, this replay is going to be on our YouTube channel, the VisionOp Group.llc. So that's really all I had right now. Is there anyone that has any questions? Is there anything that you would like me to discuss that you feel I've missed? Just go ahead and you can put it in the chat now, or you can ask it in the Q&A. Probably the chat probably works a little better. I'll give that a second. And again, don't forget that the resources are always there for you. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me at eva@charlieandeva.com. No problem with any of that. And you can also go to the website, and I will be sending out the replay this evening. Okay, if we don't have any questions, again, thank you so much for being on this webinar Wednesday. And again, on August 31st, there will be another one. We'll be talking about presentations. And if there's anything that you'd like for me to discuss, or if you have any questions, or you'd like a webinar Wednesday, any topic that you would like for me to discuss, please feel free to reach out here. And my phone number is here as well. Thanks again for listening, and have a great day, everyone.